Hey, what's going on everyone? Justin here, and in this video I just want to share the 3 books that I'm currently reading at the moment. I've done a couple of these videos and I kind of like them, so we're just gonna keep doing them, and maybe I'll do like maybe once a month, kind of just in the middle of the month or something, kind of talking about what I'm reading. But let's just go ahead and get started. So for the first one here, we got On Freedom by Timothy Snyder, and he's probably most famous now for a little tract he wrote called On Tyranny about like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, something like that. But he also has several history books, mostly dealing with Eastern Europe and whatnot. But what this book is it's kind of like a philosophical and practical take on what the concept of freedom is, as well as a bunch of like kind of memoir / vignettes from his personal life. He spent a lot of his adult life dealing with different politicians and groups and organizations and things like that in Eastern Europe, especially Ukraine. So he's got a big stake in kind of the Ukrainian-Russian war that's going on right now, and he knows several of the languages in Eastern Europe and everything just from all the time he spent there. But it's been really interesting kind of seeing the different perspectives on freedom, and his major theme here, we're a lot in the West, especially in the United States, we have a big concept of freedom in the sense of we're free from whatever, those other people. We're free from, we want to be free from big government and this kind of thing. But in a lot of the world, there's a more important, I guess, aspect of freedom to do stuff, freedom to be, freedom towards something. So he kind of like describes it as like positive and negative freedom, and that's a big theme of the book. And I found that just really, really cool. His vignettes as well, like kind of the different stories that he kind of interweaves throughout the book, dealing with his time spent in Ukraine and other like Poland, for example, in Eastern Europe. I just found really refreshing, and yeah, just been really enjoying it. I will say I'm almost at the end of the book, and there is kind of this like last major section of the book where I think it's kind of starting to go off a little bit on a tangent, where it's all like, I won't say like a pipe dream, but he kind of goes off on, what things need to happen for, the world to like keep, to become more freer, because actually we've kind of slipped in pretty much every category, over like the 21st century and everything. But it, like, while I agree with like 95% of the stuff he like talks about, like I just don't see how any of that really happens in the big scheme of things, and it's kind of going on for longer than I guess I would like it to as the reader and that kind of thing. Like I said, there's nothing really wrong with it. It just feels a little disjointed, probably isn't the right word, but it just feels sort of like almost like it's an epilogue, but it's almost too big to be an epilogue, if that makes any sense. But I really overall have enjoyed it, and I will definitely be checking out his Bloodlands, which is probably his most famous history book, and that's dealing with the dozens of millions of people that were starved and killed in Eastern Europe between Hitler and Stalin, between like the 30s and like the 50s, even like after World War II and everything. So that's gonna be probably like a harrowing book, I'm sure. I've heard that's really good, but obviously quite disturbing, just depressing and that kind of thing. But I feel like that's like one of those books I should read from all the other stuff that I read that's kind of challenging as well. Okay, so now let's move on to the book that I'm reading during my morning routine that I've kept up so far for about a month now. For those who haven't seen my kind of like vlog establishing my morning routine and all that kind of stuff, I'll leave a link in the corner down below if you want to check it out. Plus a bunch of my pets make some cameos in there as well. But basically I've been trying to set up a morning reading routine, as that's not something I normally do. But basically, I get everything ready at the desk here the night before. I try to get up a little bit earlier, give a half an hour of reading. I take my magic mind shot here that I've still been doing, just a mental performance shot. I find that it's helped me so far the best, in a sense, not so much waking me up right then and there, but I would say my sleep has improved dramatically since taking it, and to me that's by far and away a great value. So like I said, I've been taking that pretty much every morning as I do my morning reading. But yeah, so far in this morning we got Carl Sagan's The Demon Haunted World. So like I said, nice and easy, just a little shot like that, and you can keep going. But like I said, Demon Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark. I'm only about 100-ish pages in, maybe. I want to say. I should have kept my bookmark in there. Yeah, I'm about like 100, I think I'm on page 107, and this is fantastic so far. For everyone who recommended me the book, you're spot on. You guys knew my reading taste there, and yeah, this is definitely a hit. The only critique I have so far is the beginning was excellent. The introductions and all that kind of stuff was just tremendous. I feel like, I'm not sure if the whole book, like I said, I'm hoping the book kind of pans out a little bit with more structure, but it feels a little, we're just going off on, each tangent is great. Like, you know, like right now I'm reading about like UFOs and aliens and all the conspiracy theory behind like all that stuff, and how easily it is to kind of refute and debunk, and kind of the problems with it and everything like that. I'm just hoping like not every chapter is basically just like a kind of like a big aspect of like kind of pseudoscience and everything, and just kind of breaking it down and showing why it's silly and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I'm still like pretty early. I'm only about a quarter of the way through, I believe. I think it's like, yeah, it's about 400 something pages, so I'm only about a quarter of the way through. So like I said, I think we're just kind of setting up, demolishing a bunch of the pseudoscience stuff at the moment. There's lots of passages from Demon Hunted World that kind of float around on memes and images like on the internet and everything, and a lot of those are really good. I've read a few of them before, but even just in this literal first chapter, well, there's the introduction and then the first chapter, just so good. I'll read like a page or so for you. So, all over the world, there are enormous numbers of smart, even gifted people who harbor a passion for science, but that passion is unrequited. Surveys suggest that 95% of Americans are scientifically illiterate. That's just the same fraction as those African Americans, almost all of them slaves, who were illiterate just before the Civil War, when severe penalties were enforced for anyone who taught a slave to read. Of course, there's a degree of arbitrariness about any determination of illiteracy, whether it applies to language or science, but anything like 95% illiteracy is extremely serious. Every generation worries that educational standards are decaying. One of the oldest short essays in human history, dating from Sumer, some 4,000 years ago, laments that the young are disastrously more ignorant than the generation immediately preceding. 2,400 years ago, the aging and grumpy Plato, in Book 7 of the Laws, gave his definition of scientific illiteracy. Who is unable to count 1, 2, 3, or to distinguish odd from even numbers, or is unable to count at all, or reckon night and day, and who is totally unacquainted with the revolution of the sun and the moon and the stars? All free men, I conceive, should learn as much of these branches of knowledge as every child in Egypt is taught when he learns the alphabet. In that country, arithmetical games have been invented for the use of mere children, which they learn pleasure and amusement. I have late in life heard with amazement of our ignorance in these matters. To me, we appear to be more like pigs than men, and I am quite ashamed, not only of myself, but of all Greeks. I don't know to what extent ignorance of science and mathematics contributed to the decline of ancient Athens, but I know that the consequences of scientific illiteracy are far more dangerous in our time than in any that has come before. It's perilous and foolhardy for the average citizen to remain ignorant about global warming, say, or ozone depletion, air pollution, toxic and radioactive waste, acid rain, topsoil erosion, tropical deforestation, exponential population growth, and it kind of goes on and on and on. But I just found, like I said, that's on page 6. So it's just like, I guess it's just a brutal takedown of scientific illiteracy and the kind of the pride people have in it, and just pseudoscience in general and everything. Like I said, found it super great so far. I'm hoping, like I said, it kind of condenses a little bit into some kind of like more structure, if that makes any sense. But the writing itself is great. So like I said, been enjoying it. It's kind of a good, it's dense in the sense that it's, you know, nonfiction stuff, but not like if you watch, like I said, if you watch that vlog video, I tried Karl Popper in the morning, and that was a disaster. So much turning out to be a much better experience there. And then lastly, for the nature book that I'm reading at the moment is The Lives of Lichens, a Natural History by Robert Looking and Toby Scribble. Alright, so this is the Natural Lives series from Princeton University Press. There's about 12 of them, and I want to say thank you to them for sending me this one. I've bought 4 others as well, because they're just so good. But basically, there's usually about 6, 7, 8 chapters throughout the book, and each 2-page spread has either photographs or diagrams or illustrations or plates or, you know, things like that, different charts and whatnot, but lots of super high quality photographs to kind of accompany the text. And at the end of each chapter, there's like a 6 or 7 page spread where they just are 6 or 7 pages or 2-page spreads of, geez, how do I word that? there's 6 or 7 2-page spreads of like species profiles, and they've done that for every book that at least that I've read so far. I've done beetles. Let's see, I'm reading through lichens, and what was the other one I did? Oh yeah, I started the octopus and cephalopod one. So keep going with that. But yeah, just really fun. If you enjoy the sciences, if you enjoy biology, you really need to check out these. Like I said, just the photographs and everything are just super amazing, super high quality. I feel like I learn a lot from them, and they're not like, they're technical, but it's not a super hard read. Everything's broken down really nicely, and I just, like I said, I just have a ton of fun with them for sure. And like I said, I usually have a nature book and either a history or science book kind of going at the same time. And then my next read, for whichever one I finish first, probably on Freedom, my next read is actually going to be a work of fiction. I still got 2 classics to try to read before the end of the year. And the 2 that I have left are the ones I picked out are Emile Zola's The Fortune of the Rougon and the Kalevala right here. I think I'm going to go with this one because it's a little bit different from any of the other ones I've read, since this is like epic poetry effectively. It's like, you know, Finland's kind of like epic poem. I think it was kind of compiled in the early 1800s, I want to say. But I literally don't know much about it. I've been purposely trying to kind of keep my, I guess, the plot summaries and stuff like out of my mind and everything, so I can kind of go with it with fresh eyes. I think it's gonna be fun. I love the Iliad and the Odyssey, the Song of Roland, the Aeneid and stuff, the Nibelungen Lied. So I feel like this is gonna. I'm hoping it's kind of in the same vein here. Just another one to kind of add to like my I don't know, to my, I guess, my knowledge of epic poetry and whatnot. But I've heard it's really good. A few of you have left comments down below saying it's amazing. So I'm looking forward to that one. So there you have it. Those are the 3 books that I'm kind of going on with right now, and then the Kalevala, which is on deck. So yeah, if you like these kinds of videos, let me know in the comments down below, and also what book you're currently reading at the moment. Always glad to hear what you guys are reading as well. And always remember, whatever you end up reading, read victoriously.